Philip Kennedy Johnson, Becky Cloonan, Michael W. Conrad, Daniel Sampere, and Michael Avon Deming continue their action-packed Warworld-focused storylines as Superman makes a startling discovery aboard a crashing Warworld ship, and Midnighter continues to chase the present-day Andre Trojan, who has managed to capture an uncapturable hero. Philip Kennedy Johnson continues to build his epic Warworld plot by putting Superman and his entire family on the investigation into the mysterious, possibly Kryptonian people who have arrived on Earth. I quite enjoyed how Johnson begun involving other heroes in this story as well, this time in the form of Aquaman, and it makes total sense. The ship crashed into the ocean, and that's Arthur's domain, and not wanting to start a fight or a war or anything, Superman goes to him for permission. It's smart writing to think about things like that in a universe like the DC universe, especially when it could have easily just been an issue about Superman going into the ocean, and because he went there without any permission, him and Aquaman fight, and that's like on the cover and everything. They could have easily done that, but they don't. John also questioning these people right off the bat was quite smart as well, since these people mysteriously come from Warworld and are something that Superman has wanted for a long time, more of his race. So he's totally right to suggest that these are just bait for his father, and as the ending seems to suggest, it pretty much is bait, so it'll be an interesting thread to keep pulling on throughout the course of this series. Becky Cloonan and Michael W. Conrad continue their violent Midnighter storyline, and while Midnighter's mission to kill Trojan doesn't really move all that far, I did enjoy the focus on how the Future Trojan is pretty much wearing the anti-hero down thanks to his constant talking and bickering and goading Lucas in regards to his relationship with Apollo. It's a great subversion of what I assume many thought the story would be, which could have easily just been a hyper-violent romp through Metropolis or wherever Midnighter finds himself, and I much prefer this book exploring a man's mental state and how he deals with time travel and cyborgs and crazy billionaires, since it's much more interesting. Daniel Sampere and Michael Avon Deming continue to create some stunning imagery for this book, with Sampere starting the issue with just a glorious superhero shot of Superman, which is then accompanied by some fast-paced, bright-looking action. Deming meanwhile continues his interesting and totally different type of artwork, keeping on brand with the previous issues and doing some really lovely paneling that, especially in the final pages, helps sell a story of a captured hero and the claustrophobic nature of Mr. Miracle being trapped in a small cube and how that makes him feel. Action Comics issue 1031 was another hit for Johnson, Cloonan, and Conrad and their respective art teams, pushing their stories into fun new directions while also giving us some really awesome looking action set pieces and fun cliffhangers. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10. Action Comics issue 1031 finds Superman speaking Kryptonian to the woman he found, telling her his name is Clark and no harm will come to her or her people today. Superman races off to find John, telling him the people on board are refugees, so Superboy needs to clear the whole of the Warzoons and try and land it somewhere safe. John wonders where his father is going as Superman battles the gunships, only thinking about Kandor and the lives lost and the few Kryptonians that are left now, not knowing if these refugees are Kryptonian, but their heartbeats sound weak. Warworld's forces soon board the ship as Superman continues to destroy the gunships, knowing that they can't and won't die today. The ship begins falling apart, so John tells his father he can't hold it together any longer, causing Superman to blow through the ship and collect the people from the command deck as the ship crashes hard into the ocean. The gunships turn around and leave, with John thinking that they should follow, but Superman knows that the villains will suffer Mongul's wrath for failing him, while the Warzoons who were left behind are going to be rounded up by the Atlanteans who are en route. Superman wants to get to the fortress with the people as John can tell his father is shaken up about this. Superman says that he heard one of the people say something before, but he can't be sure as he sees that one of them has the House of L symbol branded into their hand. At the fortress, the Superman family learn that Kellex is doing what he can to save them, but the people are suffering from malnourishment, parasites, black lung, and much more. Clark knows these people have endured unspeakable conditions as Supergirl says the woman said something to Clark, so Clark tells her her what the woman said, which shocks Kara. Lois wants to know what the language means, learning that it was a Kryptonian prayer and it's possible that these are Kryptonian, but Clark doesn't know yet, only knowing that their symbol is branded onto the woman's palm, so he intends to find out more. Later on, Superman meets with Aquaman, Volko, and Commander Merc, who says that they haven't salvaged much from the ship, but it was falling apart before it even hit the water. However, their engineers have found the ship was patched together at least 100 times before, using tech from a dozen different worlds. Arthur wonders what Mongul wanted to achieve by sending this junk to their world, but Superman says Mongul didn't send it. It was used as a getaway vehicle for some of his prisoners. Volko wants to know what's so important about the refugees on board that Warzoons were sent after it, but Superman hoped that they had found something about that. Volko says that while they haven't found anything about that, he did find something of great value. The heroes go and take a look at the power supply of the ship, made up of an element they have never seen, and that's not all, as inside the containment shield is a tablet of some type. Superman wants to take it back to the fortress to scan it, but Commander Merc says they won't be taking anything since the fragment is too valuable to let go, and it could help Atlantis' future greatly. Merc wants Superman to take some of the savages they found in the wreckage, however. Superman asks what the state of the Warzoons are in, but Merc says that they're a nuisance, not promising that they'll still be breathing tomorrow. Aquaman and the others lead Superman to them, and Volker says that he doesn't want any surfaces to know about the fragment just yet, and he was allowed to see this as a courtesy to Arthur, believing that they can learn much from the fragment. Superman goes to see the prisoners, knowing the chains are unnecessary, but he learns that they were already wearing the chains when they came, and they don't want them removed. The beings only utter Superman's name in broken English, as Volko thinks their leader wants to fight Superman. Clark knows that wouldn't be a very good idea, as he wants to speak with them, entering the bubble, trying to talk with them, but the Warzoon only speaks in an alien language, as his friends come to attack. Superman merely waves them out of the way, knowing that he won't fight them, telling them that they don't need their chains and he wants to remove them and help them. The being flies into a rage, smashing Superman with its fists and head, but all it ends up doing is ripping its own head open and arm off, as it continues to speak in its broken alien language. Supergirl, Superboy, and Lois meanwhile dig through the records of Kandor, but can't find anyone else who left Krypton leading up to its destruction. Superboy doesn't think the refugees are Kryptonians, since one look at their cellular structure proves that they aren't, and they don't even react to solar radiation at all. Kara says that their cells barely have absorbed any radiation like theirs have, so they don't know what they will react to yet. She knows the language they spoke is from Krypton, as well as it being a dead language called Valkyrie, someone no one other than a Kryptonian would know, and even then, many of them don't, since it's not been used for thousands of years. Lois thinks that they are time travelers, but Kara doesn't think so, since the girl used the name Thalkis, asking for the person to protect them. And Kara knows that Thalkis was a Kryptonian scientist who was executed for her devotion to what she thought was the truth. Kara compares her to Socrates or Galileo of Earth, as John thinks that Mongul is playing them, and it's all part of some trap to lure Superman to him. Kara says that the refugees are dying and they can't fake that, but Superboy leaves, saying that he doesn't trust them. Kara knows that was a very un-John thing to do, so Lois plans on talking to him later as she fetches another book, having her own theory on who these people are. Elsewhere, the refugee awakens, finding her hands are unchained before quickly grabbing her clothes, wrapping her chain around her arms as Kelex arrives, assuring her that she is safe. The woman destroys Kelex as Mongul says that they are the lowest of the low, even more wretched than the carrion birds that pick at the bones of the dead, and although he chose to rescue her and her kind, she chose to wear the mark of the enemy. Mongul says that this is the reason her kind suffers, and it's not his hand that burns them, it's hers, as he uses the House of Elbrand to sear the symbol into the prisoners' chests. Mongul says that his mercy is without end, and she was chosen as an instrument of his judgment, since he will send the woman and her people to the one who wears the symbol, and what she does next will determine the fate of all her kind. Elsewhere, Midnighter spots a group of armed men with Trojan, with the Future Trojan confirming that he knew people like Midnighter would be after him, hence the security, and if Lucas tries to kill him now, there will be consequences, and a butterfly effect will take place. Midnighter knows that these are just theories, and Trojan's death puts these theories to the test. Lucas hoped that his communicator would still work, but Trojan says that the Warworld Midnighter from the future is oblivious to the nature of time travel, but Midnighter wishes he could still talk to someone other than the Future Trojan, who knows Apollo is aware Lucas has changed. Lucas doesn't want to find out that as he calls for a door, getting above the armed men before assaulting them, quickly taking down the cyborgs by breaking off their trigger fingers and snapping their legs and arms, telling the non-broken limbed ones and ones that are still alive to tell Trojan that he'll be back for him soon. One of the men gets up, finding a note which says that Midnighter knows his solution and he doesn't like it. Later, Lucas watches the news as Trojan becomes the fourth wealthiest man in America, something he finds strange since he never remembers hearing about Trojan living through this time period. Future Trojan says that Lucas is responsible for changing things, especially for the men he killed today. Lucas knows that none of those Bunsen burnouts were going to cure cancer or anything, but Trojan thinks the hero believes that all that gives life merit. Apollo comes by, thinking that Lucas is talking to the TV again as he asks the hero about Trojan and what he knows, and Apollo says that he was actually going to ask Lucas about his interest in him, wanting to know what's really going on since he's become a totally different person lately. Lucas says that this has nothing to do with Apollo, not wanting to make a thing out of it as he locks himself back in his room, leaving Apollo alone as Trojan finds this love they have quite funny, calling them pathetic, but he admires the willingness to despair. At Trojan Solutions, Trojan talks with his lead scientist about having to rely on their feeble genetic materials when they get to Warworld, but the doctor says it will only be for a short amount of time until they upgrade fully, knowing that their genetic material will grow again in the chrysalis, showing Trojan his own vial of genetic material. The man knows that that's not actually the doctor, looking over the up-to-date consciousness drivers, told by the doctor that they are all supercomputers like the one the billionaire has in his head, and after a time, they won't even need to depend on them. Trojan is pleased as he asks about their guest, asking if the scientist has reverse engineered the process yet. The man says he almost has, but the mother box is a complex gadget, but they are close to unlocking the secrets of it as elsewhere in the building, Mr. Miracle finds himself captured by Trojan, as the future Trojan was told that he would never make it to Warworld and Mr. Miracle could escape anything, but he knows it was all lies told by the fleshy slaves of mortality, but now he does impossible things and manipulates human limitation to become what he is meant to be.